Well, I've been thinking a long time about diversity in cities and how we can better manage the challenges of diversity. And I have been appreciating what's been going on in Arlington for some time. And when I read the article in the Toronto Globe and Mail that Markham was the most diverse city in Canada, I began to think, well, that's unusual. That's not what you would think of. And golly gee, isn't Markham a little bit like Arlington? And I began to peel it back a little bit. And aside from some obvious similarities or suburbs, kind of equivalent sizes, I think the most important thing is they both represent public policy which intervenes to create space for diversity. And I think they share that. I think a big part of it actually are what might seem kind of simple solutions, but even having a diversity plan makes a difference. I think that both communities signal in a variety of ways that diversity is natural and positive. And they have programs which bring people together in safe spaces. So that when people come together, it's not confrontational. And it can be something as simple as a parade or a festival, but both communities pay a lot of attention to how they structure these interactions. And I think the other thing that they have in common is they have both connected to a 21st century economy, so that there is literally a diversity of economic opportunity, which comes both from what they do and in being embedded in larger metropolitan areas. I think the X factor is leadership, which embraced diversity pretty early on. You know, when I think back, I was a graduate student in Toronto in the 70s, and I've lived in Washington a long time. Think about Arlington and Markham 2 or 3 decades ago. These were not places that were known for diversity. And I think the fact that they've seized upon the opportunity presented by immigrants, it really says a lot about the communities. I don't think there's anything, if you were to turn the clock back to, say, 1970, I'm unaware of any factor that would have signaled that either community would have become what it became. And I think, as is often the case, leadership really makes a difference. Leadership of the business community, leadership of the political community, neighborhood-based leadership. I think you had political entrepreneurs and economic entrepreneurs who wanted to build off the opportunities that they saw. Well, I think it's a sensitivity to how diversity can be viewed as a source of capital, social capital and economic capital that can be leveraged for everyone's benefit. And I think that obviously context makes a big difference in how that plays out, but I think that that sensibility can be shared. And I think we see that sensibility emerging in a variety of unusual places. I did a lot of work on a diversity program in St. Petersburg, Russia, which was implemented because, in fact, they're having a lot of difficulties with intolerance. But what it shows is that in a variety of political contexts, if there's the political leadership, often driven by economic self-interest, let's be frank about this, it's a way of attracting capital to a community. If there's that sensibility that diversity is something that can be leveraged into a positive benefit, then a number of specific policies will follow. The other point I want to make is we could come back in 20 years and Markham and Arlington could be examples of failed diversity. We don't know. And I think what's very clear when it comes to the challenges of accommodating difference, that it's constant. There's no end point. There's no point where you declare victory and go home. These communities will succeed as long as they produce the kind of leadership that they have. And when they stop producing that kind of leadership, they very easily could have problems because there's not anything particularly natural about making diversity work. It takes work.